Welcome Virgo to your in-depth weekly forecast for week commencing the 15th of April for the Ascendant, the Sun or the Moon. On the screen now is the event chart. Your ruler Mercury continues to retrace its steps. That will go on through to the 25th. But it is going to forge a brilliant alliance this week to Venus. Venus can be about relating, can be about romance, but it can be about money. And they're coming together in an exact conjunction on Friday. So that could be really important and helpful. But of course, last week, Mars was trapped by the more restrictive energies of Saturn in your 7th house. And the potency of the total solar eclipse stirred up many of us. How did that play out for you? Well, as this week begins, Saturn is just still in touch with Mars, but Mars is starting to inch away. And in fact, later this week forges a very dynamic angle to both Jupiter and Uranus, which are preparing to come into their exact alliance on the 21st. So there's some movement in your sector of relating, some movement in your sector of fresh ideas, the 9th house. But what about all those energies packed into Aries beyond Mercury and Venus? Well, as this week begins, the moon, you can see, is in its home sign of Cancer. For you, house 11, that's about friendship. It's about connecting to people that are important to you or your higher values. The 8th house position of the sun that the quarter moon forges later on Monday provides a backdrop for the next week. 8th house energy, which is where that eclipse occurred, is very much to do with transformations, and some of them can be deep. They can be to do with the practical and material sphere, shared resources, investments, money, mortgages, pensions, all that kind of stuff. But they can also be to do with very deep relationships and very much to do with where we're devoted or invested or psychological changes. So having the moon in the very friendly 11th house, but in the sensitive Cancer for you, squaring up with that sun, suggests that if there is someone in your friendship circle who tends to be a bit limiting, a bit needy, perhaps leverages you through jealousy or possessiveness, that's something that you won't appreciate this week. But then again, if you're going through some big changes in your situation, the moon's almost seeing you yearn for some kind of lighter, freer energy. So by the time we get to Friday, you're going to start to get that because the sun moves into your sister Earth sign of Taurus, joining up with Jupiter and Uranus. The sun here for you emphasizes the energy that's been coming from them for some while to change things up, to push your circumstances in perhaps some new directions, which brings some greater variety. So if something has really been getting you down recently, some kind of transition can start to work into your situation later this week, which creates a freer sense of energy. It's just that the sun does immediately go into conflict with Pluto. And because you are someone who can be very conscientious, very committed to any role you have, very supportive to other people, and Pluto is emphasizing that in house 6, that energy of the sun going into house 9, which is much more independent, freedom loving, could see you conflicted a little bit about some of the changes that are developing in your situation. The great news is that Mars has moved away from that very restraining angle or conjunction to Saturn, and by the end of this week is absolutely bonding with Jupiter and Uranus in a very lively and stimulating way. So as much as there may be some big changes in your situation, there are some new, very big beginnings, which can be very exciting. It's just managing the transition. It's been a real pleasure being with you. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you have a great week. We've been checking out our stats on YouTube, and 55% of people who watch my videos are not subscribers. If you're one of them, I'd really appreciate it if you could support my channel by clicking or tapping on the bell notification symbol and subbing too.